Hello my lovely people, thank you so much for stopping by. My name is Treasure Peter and this is Treasure's Craft. Today I'll be showing you guys how to make this very beautiful blouse that has a built-up neckline and this beautiful short sleeves. It's actually a bustier blouse. Do well to watch till the end if this is something you're interested in, and do not forget to drop a like and also comment and subscribe if you've not subscribed. Thank you. So guys, to make this blouse I'll be making use of this pattern paper and I will be drafting it at once on the pattern paper. So to get the width of your pattern paper, you need to get at least your hip measurement divided by 4 plus additional 4 to 5 inches. So we'll go ahead to do the measurements before cutting it out. So the first measurement you need is the length of your blouse. Whatever length you want, leave 3 inches above before you start taking the measurement. The 3 inches is because of the built-up neckline that we'll be using. So from 3 inches is actually the shoulder measurement. Go ahead to take the length of your blouse. I made mine to be 24 inches. Next, you go ahead to measure your shoulder to bust point. I marked mine at 9.5. I also marked my shoulder to under bust point at 12.5 inches, and also went ahead to mark the shoulder to the waistline at 16 inches. Then I went ahead to draw out the horizontal lines. Then I proceeded to label the line, shoulder line, bust point, under bust, waistline, and the top length. On the shoulder line, I measured and marked my shoulder measurement divided by 2. For the neck width, I measured 3 inches and then I came down by 1 inch for the shoulder slant and connected it back to the neck width. So next thing we'll take is the chest line. To do that, from the shoulder slant, go ahead to measure your bust circumference divided by 6 plus 1.5. Whatever you have, go ahead to mark it and draw a line across. I also label its chest line. The next thing you do is take your shoulder measurements divided by 2 on the chest line and then connect it upwards towards the shoulder slant. Go ahead to take the midpoint between your shoulder slant and the chest line, and then at the midpoint, go in by ½ inch. On the chest line, measure your bust circumference divided by 4. Mark what you have and then you use your armhole curve to connect in order to form the armhole. So guys, next thing we'll be taking is the nipple to nipple measurement. Go ahead to divide it into 2 and mark it on your bust point, your under bust point, your waistline, as well as the top length, and then go ahead to draw a straight line to connect the 4 dots together. At the under bust line, I marked 1.5 inch towards the side and ½ inch at the inner part. I also did the same thing on the waistline, 1.5 inch towards the side and ½ inch at the inner part, and connected the lines together. At the length of the top, I came up with 2 inches, and then I went ahead to connect the line in a slant form to meet up with that point from the waistline. So guys, in order not to waste time, I will try to be very fast so that this video will not be too long. You know, we are doing one video at once. We are not going to have a separate sewing video. At this point, I'll go ahead to place my curved ruler to curve from the under bust point to the bust point in order to curve the bustier part, and I'll do the same thing on this other inner part. So note that this part is going to be taken off. The next thing we are going to be doing is to measure around the armhole. So just go ahead to measure around the armhole and take half of it. So you're going to connect that point when you take note of the half to the bust point in this manner. So just follow what I'm doing. So guys, from that point, come down by 1 inch along the armhole curve, and then you go ahead to extend it in a slant form by 1.5 inch. Then you use your curve ruler to connect it towards the bust point in this manner. Just watch the way I'm doing it and go ahead to do the same thing. So take notes, this part is going to be going off also. So the next thing we're going to do is to take our round body measurement. So we've already taken our bust measurement, but now we need to replace the darts because we're going to be cutting out all these darts. So I'm replacing it with 1 inch because the allowance is actually 1 inch, and then you go ahead to connect it from the new armhole point. So this is going to be our new armhole point. So guys, at the underbust line, I went ahead to take my round underbust divided by 4. I marked what I had, and then I had to replace the dart. Remember this part that will be taking out, it's actually 2 inches because we took out 1.5 inch from one side and 1/2 inch on the other side. At the waist line, I also went ahead to take the waist measurements divided by 4. I marked what I had and also replaced the dart, and then I went ahead to connect it from the bust point to the waist line in this manner. On the top length, I also went ahead to take the hip measurement divided by 4 and marked what I had. Then I marked additional 4 inches. This is to give it that exaggerated hip effect. You can actually use 3 inches, it will still be perfect. Then I proceeded to connect it to the waist line. So guys, from the down part of the side, go up by 3 inches and then go ahead to connect it towards the joining part in this manner. Just note that I will be cutting out this part. At this point, I proceeded to add my side seam allowance. I made use of 1.5 inches for all the lines and then connected it to form the new side. So this is going to be where we will cut out. So guys, the next thing I'll be doing is to take the bust dart. So the reason why we are taking the bust dart is because the shoulder to waist at the front is longer than the shoulder to waist at the back. Is usually longer than. So in order for the side of the back to align with the side of the front, there is need for us to take a bust dart. So you need to take the difference between the shoulder to waist at the front and the shoulder to waist at the back. For mine, it was 1.5 inch. So I marked 1.5 inch from the side of the bust dart and then connected it back to the bust point in this manner. So this is the parts we'll be cutting out. You have to fold it in and blend it very well before cutting it out. You can just go ahead to gum that part or just fold it in and cut it out. For the built-up neck, I went up by 2 inches. I feel 2 inches is actually perfect for the length of this built-up neck. But if you want to make it up to 3 inches, you can go ahead to make yours depending on what you want. So the next thing you go ahead to do is to take the neck width. For my neck width at the up part, I'm making use of 2 inches. I went ahead to mark the 2 inches and then I'll just go ahead to connect it in a curved manner to meet up with the slanted shoulder. So you need to really make it to be really curvy. Take note of the way I had to curve it, because that's actually the fun and beauty of the neck. So the next thing I'm going to do is to take the neck depth. So I made use of 6 inches from the shoulder. I marked 6 inches and then I connected it back to the neck width in this manner because of how the neck is. So I've actually done a tutorial on how I made this neck. That was actually the last video I posted, and I also showed how to make different types of trendy necklines. You would love to watch that tutorial. I'll drop the link on the description box below so you can check how to make different types of necklines if you're interested in watching it. So guys, this is all for the drafting of the front part. I'll go ahead to draft the back part first before we cut out the front part. So for the back part, just like we did to the front side, I came down with 3 inches for the built-up neckline before starting my measurement, and then I went ahead to take the shoulder to waist at the back. For mine, it was 14.5 inches. For the front, it was actually 16 inches. That was why we got the difference for the bust dart of 1.5 inch. And then I went ahead to take the length of the top. So I actually made a mistake. What you need to do is to measure her from the front waistline to the length of the top, and whatever you have, use it to measure from the back waistline and form the length of the top for the back pattern. So I made a mistake, but I actually corrected myself at the end of the day. So the next thing you go ahead to do is to mark your zip allowance. I made use of 1.5 inch for my zip allowance and connected the lines together. Then I went ahead to take my shoulder measurements divided by 2 from the zip allowance point and marked what I had. At that point, I came down with 1 inch for the shoulder slant. I also made use of 3 inches for the neck width and connected it back to the shoulder slant. And then from the shoulder slant, I took my chest line at my bust circumference divided by 6 plus 1.5. and then connected the stretch line and label it chest line. On the chest line, I marked my shoulder measurement divided by 2 and connected it back to the shoulder slant. At the waistline, I measured the nipple to nipple measurement divided by 2. I also measured it at my chest line and also at the top length and connected the straight line. Note the measurement is starting from the zip allowance, and I did not add any allowance. I'll be adding it when cutting on the fabric. At the waistline, I measured ½ inch from both sides from the nipple to nipple measurement and connected it back to the chest line. At the top length, I came up with 2 inches, then connected to meet up with the waistline, just like I did to the front part. So guys, I know you noticed how I was trying to talk very fast. It's because I'm trying to manage my time because we still have the sewing tutorial and I want to combine the video in one video. I do not want to have a part 2 for this video. So we'll be taking out another dart at the zipper allowance. At the waistline, I came in with ½ inch and connected it upwards towards the chest line, just a little bit after the chest line, like about 2 inches, but in a slant form. At the length of the top, I also came up with 2 inches and connected it back to the waistline in a slanted form also. So this is just to eliminate the zipper bulge. This means that I'll be cutting out this part. From the shoulder slant to the chest line, I measured what I have and I took the half of it. So after marking the midpoints, I went ahead to use my curved ruler to connect it like this to the chest line in order to form the princess dart. At this point, I'll go ahead to take the round body measurement. So for the chest line, I went ahead to take my bust circumference divided by 4. Then I used the armhole curve to connect in order to form the armhole, just like this. At the waistline, I measured my waist measurements divided by 4. From the zipper allowance point, I marked what I had and replaced the 1 inch dart. Then I drew a line to connect to the chest line. At the top length, I proceeded to take the hip measurements divided by 4. I added extra 4 inches just like I did to the front. Then connected it to the waistline. Try to connect it in this way so that you have a very beautiful shape. Just like the front, in order for it to align, I went up by 3 inches, marked what I had and then connected it towards the bust band. And I'll be cutting out this part. I almost forgot to add the allowance, so I went ahead to add my 1½ inch allowance on all the sides. This is the side seam allowance. I'm adding it at once. This means I'm not going to be adding it on the fabric, so I just connected it back. And I also added extra ½ inch allowance. Remember the ½ inch that we took out at the zipper allowance point? You need to take it in again at the waistline. Go ahead to measure ½ inch and then connect it upwards and downwards in a slanted form, just like you see me doing. So finally, I'll be taking the Builtup neckline for this back pattern. I also went up by 2 inches just like we did to the front. I marked what I had and then I took the neck width from the zip allowance points to be 2 inches also, and then connected it in a curved manner towards the slanted shoulder just like we did to the front side. And then I came down by ½ inch at the center of the neck and connected it back to the neck width. So that's all for the neck of the back. I'll just go ahead to cut out the back. Just watch closely where I am cutting. So here's the back after cutting. I'll go ahead to cut out the front also. I'll first cover the bust dart before cutting it out. So there was actually a shortage at the front side. I added extra allowance at the down part of the front side, but if you follow the way I explained while cutting the back, you're going to get the exact same thing. At this point, I proceeded to cut it out. Just follow the way I'm cutting and also do the same thing. At this point, guys, we are done cutting. I'll just go ahead to cut it out on the fabric. I added half-inch allowance for joining at the bustier area and half-inch to the shoulder. As for other parts, I didn't add any other allowance because I've already added the allowances while drafting them. So at this point, we'll go ahead to start our sewing. This is what the front side looks like. The next thing I'll do is to add gum stay around the neck, the medium gum stay. So I'm going to be adding it around the neck to give it stability. So this is the lining part. I've gone ahead to add a soft interfacing to the lining with warden. The warden is around the bustier area so that it will give it a good fit and our bust area will be very perfect. If you like, you can actually add your interfacing also to the Ankara fabric. I'm not going to be adding to mine, so I'll go ahead to join it and iron it very well. I'll also join this front part also from the down part upwards with half-inch and iron it very well. For the back part, I have also added half-inch for joining at the center and half-inch at the shoulder part. At this point, I'll also go ahead to join the princess dart area, so go ahead to place it the way it should be. Make sure that it is well positioned and join it with the back side. So I'll just join it with half-inch and show you guys what I have. And this is the lining piece. I've also gone ahead to add the interfacing and I'll also go ahead to join them. For the neck area of the back, I'll also add at least 3 inches medium gum stay to it. So here is the front part. This is the neck area. As you can see, I've added the gum stay to it and I joined it with half-inch, open up the seams and ironed it very well. I've done the same thing to the lining part. So because the lining part has the warden, that's why it's standing like this. Try to iron it to be in this way. Allow it to be placed in this manner because it's actually the lining. So guys, for the back piece, I've also gone ahead to add the gum stay to the neck and join them and iron them very well. As you can see, it's looking so fine. And I've done the same thing also to the lining part. As you can see, for the lining part, I only added the interfacing and also joined it. So now I'm going to be attaching the shoulder of the back to the shoulder of the front. I'm doing them material to material and the lining to lining. So just go ahead to join them with half-inch. I'll do the same thing to the lining pieces also. Arrange it very well and join the shoulder with half-inch. So here is it after joining the shoulder. The next thing I'll go ahead to do is to trim the allowance of the joining out, and I'll go ahead to give it a very good press. I'll do that for both the material and the lining. So here is it after ironing it very well. As you can see, it's looking so neat. I've gone ahead to do the same thing to the lining piece also. So the next thing we are going to do is to place it right side facing the right side, the front side facing the front side. We'll go ahead to turn the down parts, we'll turn the neckline and turn the sides also, as well as the zipper part. You need to pin down the neck part first and try to make sure that the shoulder aligns with the shoulder before turning it. So for the neck part, we're going to be using hemming gum to turn it so it will look very neat. And I'll also use hemming gum to turn the down part of both the front and the back, but for the side I'll just turn it like that without hemming gum. So guys, I'll go ahead to turn it off the camera, then bring it out to the good side and iron it very well. So guys, this is it after ironing it very well. As you can see, it's looking so beautiful and it's so neat. So the next thing I'll be doing now is to fix the zip. I'll go ahead to fix the zip of the camera. After fixing the zip, this is what we have. So the next thing I'll do is to close the side. To close the side, of course, you need to make use of your bust measurement as well as the waist measurements. At the chest line, I measured my bust measurement and marked on both sides. At the waistline, I also measured my waist measurement and then connected the lines together. From the waistline, just go ahead to connect it in this manner towards the down part in order to give you that exaggerated hip effect. Do the same thing to the other part. So I'll just go ahead to close both sides and then I'll use my scissors to put in at the waistline. I'll do that and show you guys what I have. At this point, I'll go ahead to cut the sleeves. I folded the fabric into 4 already in order to cut the 2 sleeves at once. So first, I went ahead to draw a straight line. From the straight line, I measured 2 inches before starting to take the length of the sleeves. The reason for coming up here is just because of how the sleeves is, so that we'll be able to have that effect. So the next thing I'm doing now is to take the length of the sleeves. I wanted the sleeves to be very short, so I wanted to have 7 inches at the end of the day. That's why I'm taking 8 inches. At the starting line, I marked 4 inches from the center. At that point, I came down by 4.5 inches and drew a straight line across. Then I marked the midpoint between the starting line and the 4.5 inches. And then on the 4.5 inches line, I went ahead to mark my round armhole measurement divided by 2. I added 1 inch sewing allowance and then connected it towards the beginning line in a curved manner, just like this. Make sure that your curve touches that midpoint before you connect it towards the up part. You can leave at least 2 inches from the center point before connecting it. So this is a very easy way to go about with your basic sleeves. For the down part, measure the round sleeves divided by 2, mark what you have, add extra 1 inch and connect it to the armhole. So because of how the sleeves is, that was why we added extra 2 inches. So from that midpoint, go ahead to connect it like this to meet up with that 2 inches. It is actually something very easy to do. And the next thing I'm going to be doing is, because we have a gather, so you need to add extra allowance at this armhole part. I made use of 1 inch, but I'll advise that you make use of at least 3 or 2 inches so you have a full gathers. So that's all. I'll just go ahead to cut it out. So guys, I've gone ahead to cut the lining. I'll just go ahead to turn the down part with the lining, making use of my hemming gum. I'll also turn the sides also before ironing it very well. So here is the blouse after closing the sides. As you can see, it's looking so beautiful and so neat. I had to open up the inner part to show you where I notch. It's actually around the waist side. Sorry, my camera did not capture that part. So guys, here is the sleeves. I've also gone ahead to iron it. As you can see, it's looking very neat, and I've also top stitched around the upper part. So I'll just go ahead to close it with the allowance I added. It was 1 inch allowance, but I'll measure my round sleeves first to know where it's going to stop. I'll just proceed to close the sides. I proceeded to measure around the armhole to check what I have. So I'm going to try to see how I can achieve that round armhole after pleating the sleeves. So go ahead to pleat the sleeves in this way. Just push it in from both ends like this. So that's just the easy way to go about with pleating these sleeves. Make sure that you achieve the round armhole at the end of the day, and take note of your joining allowance. So I'll just go ahead to sew it and close the sides before showing you guys what I have. So guys, here is it. It's looking so beautiful and so neat already. And the final thing I'll just do is to go ahead to attach it to the round armhole. I had to measure it to confirm it, so I'll just go ahead to attach it here. So you need to start from the down part, just pin it and make sure they align. Then you go ahead to sew it and join it with 1/2 inch, and that'll be all for the making of this blouse. I'll do that off the camera and show you guys the final result of this blouse. Thank you so much for watching. If you watch up till this point, I really appreciate you. Thank you so much, my returning subscribers, for always sticking around. I really appreciate you guys. So this is the final look of this blouse. See how it's looking so beautiful. Please do not forget to give this video a thumbs up if this video was of value to you, and also subscribe if you have not. Thank you so much for watching. This is the final look on my body. Thank you so much once again, and see you in my next tutorial. Bye for now.